Just gone 9:15. We're looking at the traffic and travel on the way for us very, very shortly. You're talking about traffic and travel. It's time to go over to our phones and have a chat with Kevin Brown, who's the asset manager of Highways England. Hello, good morning, Kevin.
Good morning.
We wanted to have a little chat to you about the proposals for this major new lorry park. It's designed to help to improve things when services across the English Channel are disrupted. It's also helped to improve Operation Stack. Is that right?
That's right. The principal aim is to help deal with the circumstances when Operation Stack is required. Now, people will recall what happened this summer, what the government and all of local government, Kent County Council and many other parties in Kent were saying to us, this simply can't go on, we need an alternative. Having looked at what we could do on the M20, it was very soon decided and agreed by everyone that actually the best option was to provide off-road lorry parking.
Right.
And that's what we've come forward with. We've got 2 sites and 4 alternative levels of use. So ranging from just using it for Operation Stack or also using it for day-to-day traffic management to help around the Folkestone area through to helping deal with the overnight lorry parking, which we know is a bane of many people's lives at the moment. And the final alternative would be to have a motorway service area but aimed simply at the heavy goods vehicles.
OK, I'm guessing this whole thing has been looked into very, very carefully over the past year or so or whatever. I mean, I think it's fair to say that Operation Stack, nobody really likes it. It's the bane of many people's lives. It caused total road chaos. But also, I mean, is it fair also to stick a lorry park right next to Stanford? I mean, you've got 2 lorry parks, proposed places there to put them. What about the people of Stanford?
We've looked very carefully along the entire M20, M26 corridor because obviously what we've been told very clearly is that you need a lorry area, firstly, close to the point of exit, so somewhere near Eurotunnel and Port of Dover.
Right.
Secondly, that it should be a single site because that stands the best chance of A, drivers going to it, and B, it being understood, being able to work efficiently and effectively to actually get the lorries in and then get them out and onto those trains and ferries with the minimum of fuss. It would also enable the rest of the M20 to keep running, and it would also mean that the rest of the roads around that area would also be running. So the people of Sellenge and Stanford and other villages would still have the A20, which currently is used as a diversion route under Operation Stack. So, you know, they've told us loud and clear that they get trapped in their villages during Operation Stack. Now, in terms of impacts on neighbours, we would look very carefully as to how best to mitigate any impact. In terms of around the edges, we would have funding and trees and understory and that sort of thing. So the chances are that actually those living close to it probably wouldn't be able to see it. Now, obviously, a lorry area of this size, we wouldn't be able to camouflage it altogether, but we'd look to minimise its impact on both the local area and the wider area. So already we're looking at in terms of how we could minimise the lighting required and the impact of that lighting. So modern lighting is very much focused downwards rather than the old traditional orange sodium lights that you see that lights up the sky, etc. With surfacing, drainage, you name it, we're looking at it very carefully in terms of what the options are, but we haven't got a final design yet because that will come once we've had the consultation, we've had the views of everyone, locals, people who live in the wider county area and beyond as to what they think we should be doing.
Am I correct in saying that you used Manston Airport, the former Manston Airport, as a site for the lorries during the end of last summer because that had the facilities and the hard standing? Is that not a viable option then for the future, using Manston?
No, the government agreed a contract with the owners of Manston to use it as a temporary lorry area. It hasn't actually been in practice yet, but it's there if it's needed. The problem with Manston is that whilst the central runway itself is an ideal size and shape, etc., it's just simply in the wrong place. It can't serve Eurotunnel, and it's a long detour for anyone going to Dover. So it's a case the right sort of thing, but the wrong place.
So if you choose one of the 2 sites at Stanford, does that mean that in future the motorway won't be shut and used as a lorry park?
That's the aim. Based on what happened this summer, when you had 32 days of closures. At its peak, on 2 days, we would still need to use the motorway, but those other 30 days we wouldn't. Now, that's partly what we're consulting on in the consultation, is how big do you think the lorry area should be? Now, we're aiming that it should effectively replace junctions 8 to 11, which was around 3,600 to 4,000 HGVs. That's why we're proposing it this size. But we are asking in the consultation, do people think it should be smaller, that size, or bigger?
Okay, another thing I was wondering as well, before the M20 was built, where did all the lorries get put then?
Well, in those days, you just didn't have the same number of lorries.
It wasn't that long ago. I can remember the M20 being built. Wasn't that long ago, but where did they go then? This is what I was just wondering. Where did all the lorries go to?
As I say, there's also been a complete shift in the haulage industry. A generation ago or so, most of the hauliers were British, and therefore, if you had problems on the motorway, they went home to sit it out. Now 85% of the haulage industry is foreign-owned. So when the drivers are trying to go home, that means they're trying to get back to the continent. So rather than sit it out in Britain somewhere, they make their way down to Dover because, quite understandably, they're trying to get home.
Okay. Also, Kevin, what about the sanitation in an area like that? How's that going to work out?
Depending on the level of use, we would either have a mix of portable toilets and water and hand washing and that sort of thing, or permanent facilities on site if it was just used as Operation Stack. If it was used at the other end of the spectrum, if it was a motorway service area, then it would have all the facilities you'd expect, so showers, places to eat, rest areas, etc. So again, that's why we're really keen to hear from the public as to what level of use they think the site should have.
Isn't there a section at Hyde Services, motorway services, where there is a lorry section and they've got their own facilities? Is there not an option to extend along that bit there?
Well, under Site 1, the lorry area will be both north of the motorway and south of the motorway to the west of the existing Stock 24 services. Now, the government will appoint an operator to actually run the services and the site, and it will be a case of clearly Stock 24 are in a good position to say, well, we're here, we're local, we can do things for you, but it will be for the government to decide who they appoint.
Okay, and just very quickly, what response have you had from the meeting so far? Because, I mean, there's been 6 meetings, I think, recently. There's one more happening today, this afternoon at 2 o'clock at the Hawkinge Community Centre. What response have you had from the meeting so far?
That's right, yeah, we've had 7 so far, 2 before Christmas, 4 last week, and we were back at Sellinge last night. It's a complete range from, this is the worst thing ever, to why didn't you do it years ago? Okay. And that includes even amongst the locals around Sellinge.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us this morning on Academy FM, Kevin. That's Kevin Brown, the Asset Manager of Highways England. Thank you very much indeed, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much for asking me on.